Hi there, I'm Stephen Leptak, Executive Editor of The Drum, and you join me as I'm about to host another interview with one of the Drum Award chairs. And I'm delighted to be joined by Kevin Johnson, who is the Chief Executive of MediaCom Canada, who has graciously agreed to be the chair of the Drum's Out of Home Awards this year. Kevin, thanks for joining me. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. All the better for seeing you. Honestly, I'm so pleased to get some time with you. So, yeah, it's great to actually talk to you about. We're going to be talking a bit about the out of home sector as you see it, but I'd like to start by just asking, as we've been going through the last 6-7 months of the pandemic, how have you been, and what has the experience been for you and the team at MediaCom?
Well, thank you for asking. I think overall, our team is faring well, in spite of some of the challenges that we are all facing. You know, as we went through the first stage and the first few weeks of this pandemic, we kind of really tried to gain our feet into this new world, and how tools and technology would be able to help us. And so while I had some real reservations about the consistency and the support that tools and tech would give us, 6 months later, I'm really pleased by how it's been able to help us, the amount of stress that it's taken off our people and our talent. And overall, during this crazy time, we've been able to find our footing again. We've been able to be working at a productive level and still doing as much as we can to create some of that bond that we are lacking based on the fact that we are no longer within each other's touch, and close proximity. We're really trying to work through that. So I'm really proud of the team on what we've been able to do during this time. And our focus right now as the leadership is just trying to make sure that we keep that balance for them in terms of how they balance work-life balance, the stresses of life, and all these things. We want to make sure that we're there for them.
Mhm. Yeah, I've been saying to many industry leaders of late, I wouldn't fancy being a chief executive right now with all the responsibilities you have to juggle. There must be an awful lot of pressure on you. Well, at the same time, you're dealing with this personally as well. So good luck. I know there's a long way to go with this, but I'm sure it sounds as though you're doing you're coping with it very well.
Well, very well. I think, look, I think from a personal perspective, I think being a CEO at this time is a great learning experience. To be able to be in this position and learn through something that we've never faced before is great for me in terms of overall learning, and it's something that I can take on for the rest of my life, quite frankly. So I think, and then personally, I have 3 young children at home, so we're trying to maneuver through that interesting scenarios that brings as well. So it's been good, it's been challenging, but I'm confident that we all can get through it.
Well, moving on from to talk about the impact that the out of home sector has seen. What have you seen in terms of outdoor? How has that been impacted for the last 6 months?
Yeah, so obviously with the fact that we are as a community, we are far more indoors. Clearly, regardless of what region you're in, out of home has suffered in terms of the traffic, the overall traffic decreasing significantly. But I think we can be optimistic in terms of it coming back, because we've already seen here in Canada that those numbers are beginning to rise again. And I think the last few estimates that I've seen from various sources have us at 70%, 60 to 70% to pre-COVID traffic and presence across the board, across the country. So, you know, there's a level of optimism there that the more we open up, the more we begin to go outdoors and experience some of those places, sites, and events, that I'm really confident that we'll be able to see, alongside of that, some of the outdoor numbers and traffic beginning to go back. You know, here in Ontario, we're just seeing some slight cracks in terms of the overall numbers with the spike going up, and I feel like there will be a slight regression or pullback to make sure that we're not going too crazy. But I think overall, as we begin to manage the COVID and keep those levels consistent and down as much as possible, I think the outdoor industry and the activity that we see in it will begin to increase again.
What about client confidence then? I'm going to assume that spend was hit hard for 6 months in the outdoor sector. Are you seeing that come back at all? What predictions can you make around how clients will return to that sector?
Yeah, I think we're already seeing clients come back into this media, and I think it's really important. It's an important element to the overall mix. You know, outdoors, we've seen some great creative over the time. We know how important it is in terms of how we consume it within the overall journey. And I think that client confidence specifically with outdoor, they are coming back into the market. We are seeing it here at MediaCom, and I'm confident again that we'll continue to experience and see growth back into that market.
In your own opinion, what would you say makes the out-of-home media special? Why does it stand out from the others?
Well, look, I think, you know, for Canada, where summers are so important to us, you know, and thinking about the average life of a Canadian and what that looks like, you know, I think if memory still serves me correctly, we are still one of the regions with the most amount of festivals per capita and total festivals. So that that diversity that you can make reference to as you think about Canada, those events, those cultural events, the need to get out, the great restaurants, all of these things require people to get up and get out. And so with that, you know, you would see a very vibrant outdoor market, and partners that are working within that area. And over the years, we've been able to manage and create some great pieces of creative that match the very robust market that we have here. So it's an interesting market. It will continue to be. And for those who are concerned or worried, I'd put limited time and effort on that concern. I think that we'll be okay once we start getting out again, and I expect that we will be out and about, hopefully very soon.
You mentioned how technology had helped the team overcome a lot of the difficulties that they faced, but I'm curious as to how you see technology really innovating and pushing the out-of-home sector forward. Is there anything that's caught your eye that you think this is really going to take it forward?
Well, I think it's interesting because that's going to happen regardless of whether we want it or not. You're already seeing changes. You know, when you take a look at even the very sources that we're getting traffic numbers, you know, that has moved from very manual detection to when you're looking at the sources, you're seeing things like data from Apple, weather, etc. So it's amazing how technology is fueling the outdoor medium behind the scenes, and in front as well. When we look at the actual sites that are going up and changing over time, and I think this is a great thing. The innovation and the recognition of individuals and how they're interacting with boards, that's so important as we begin to use the medium and take a look at the various changes that are happening.
But with all that innovation, it becomes a more complex area for marketers to wrap their heads around what they can do with it. How do you try and help marketers to fully utilize the out-of-home medium?
Look, if anyone knows me, I'm a very I'd like to think that I'm a very pragmatic in how I think about things, and so for me, it is still about, first and foremost, how am I consuming it as an individual, not me as a CEO or someone within this industry, or a planner, a media planner, which I am at heart. But really, how are you and I digesting what we're seeing within the out-of-home category? And so that is always my first lens as I think about how we can overcome and tackle some of the challenges that marketers have. And we know that the locations throughout the outdoor and their sites are vast, and there's lots of coverage across the country. We know that there are various boards in sizes and shapes. We know that digital continues to have more and more presence, so that we can change messaging more often, more frequently. So I think all of these things, again, while we can get in the details around how and when and what's happening in the background, I think the most important thing is, at the end of the day, is how you and I are digesting this medium when we're outside.
Yes, I think of it as being, when I look at all the mediums in advertising over the last 10 to 15 years, it's the one to me that has really jumped forward. And it's almost revolutionized in the way that it can be connected to the man on the street. It's no longer just a billboard. There is actually the potential of a two-way interaction now. Are there any brands that come to mind for you, or any campaigns that you think are really using the full potential of out-of-home?
Well, look, I think that there are many, and as you were just speaking, obviously one of our partners that we actually won an award from our peers for, Just for Men, and the COM organization were really great partners of ours. And when we think about some of the technology that we were able to use in this campaign that was award winning, we were able to have men walk across and be recognized from the board itself, the digital board itself, and begin to monitor and take a look at the various beards and facial hair that they had, and begin to share how the brand could help. And I think, when you think about, for many years where we were just a very static board that you digested with your eyes and moved on, to being able to be recognized by technology and AI of a board, and then begin to communicate and have dialogue with a particular board, that's really interesting. Some would say scary, but I would say interesting, because I think technology can be used for good.
Yeah. As I said at the very start, you have agreed to be the chair of the Drums Out of Home Awards. So I'll finish off by asking you, what are you looking forward to seeing from the entries this year? Is there anything in particular that you'll be keeping an eye open for?
So look, I'm a lover of the challenger brand. So I always have heart for those brands that you don't expect to be there and kind of surprise and delight you, and you wonder where they came from out of nowhere versus some of the Goliaths and be able to show themselves up. Um, I'm always looking for those. The one thing throughout awards that I am always interested in is some of the insights that come out of and are at the very heart of the brands or the campaigns that were developed. Like, what are those human truths? What are those things that are going to make us say, oh, or aha? Like those things that really allow us to think and surprise us. And so I've been always a lover of a great insight, and I'm really looking forward to hopefully seeing some great stuff in the next few weeks and months.
Yeah, I can guarantee you'll certainly see a few challenger brands in there. We're pretty good for having the underdog
Love it.
represented at the drum.
Love it. I love it. I love an underdog. I consider myself an underdog. So
Well, to us at the drum, you're the big dog when it comes to out of home. So, Kevin, thanks again for taking the time to talk to me, and looking forward to catching up when we're judging.
looking forward to it, and I'll see you soon, and I'll see everyone else very soon as well.
Yeah, thank you to you, the viewer, for tuning in as well. Take care.